human beings are just a product of random mutation of DNA that is evolved through natural selection. And the question here is, as an atheist, where do you get the idea of evil from in the first place? Because since we human beings are merely animals, perhaps slightly sophisticated animals or advanced animals, but just the same, we are just animals, and therefore we are just a product of the natural causes. It's very beneficial to be able to highlight this through a specific example. What is that? Beeping. It's good to highlight this through a specific example. The specific example I'd like to give, for example, is, you just watch any documentary, okay, about a nature program of one animal fighting and killing and eating another. So let's take the herds of wildebeest in the Masai Mara Park that goes between, or the Serengeti, as it's called, between Tanzania and Kenya. And these wildebeest migrate, and one of the things, I'm sure you've probably seen it, there comes a time when they cross a certain river and the crocodiles know that it's time, right, for these wildebeest to cross, and they're just waiting there to, it's just dinner time, right? Now, we don't sit there and look at the crocodiles and say, oh my God, look at that evil crocodile eating that wildebeest. He's so evil and wicked. You might think that because the crocodiles are sort of a bit slimy and reptilian and a wildebeest is a mammal, but, that's ridiculous. They're just doing what crocodiles do. When a lion jumps on a helpless little gazelle and rips its throat open with blood spewing everywhere, you don't say, what a wicked lion. The lion is just doing what the lion does. When the male shark forces itself upon the female shark, it basically rapes the female shark. Well, we don't call it rape, we don't consider it to be evil. That's just what sharks do. So here is my question. Where does evil come in if we are just evolved? Surely human beings are just doing whatever human beings have evolved to do. So if we gas 6 million Jews, we slaughter each other in Rwanda, we rape, we murder, we steal, we're just doing what human beings do. We've evolved to do that. So using the argument of evil is hypocrisy from the point of view of the atheist, because in reality, there is no morality, there is no such thing as good and evil, if you are truly an atheist and you believe in evolution. Morality is an artificial construct. But the fact that the atheist relies in their argumentation on the existence of the problem of evil, and they know it is so emotive, they can appeal to something deep-rooted inside the human being, actually proves that there must be a God. Because from where does this idea that there is something evil come from? It must come from some transcendental anchor. It has to come from some place other than ourselves. Because if it doesn't, then we would have to agree that there is no such thing as objective evil. There can only be subjective evil. There can only be subjective evil. What I mean by that is there is nothing really that is absolutely evil always and forever. Yeah? Because if evil is merely a product of our circumstance, and so evil would be either it's evil because most people in society happen to consider it to be evil, right? Or people perceive it to be harmful, non-beneficial, or whatever. These are the causes, but since society changes, those reasons change. So it is not objectively evil. Let's take a scenario, for example. Imagine that the Nazis had succeeded in taking over the whole world, and the whole of humanity had been indoctrinated that it was a very good thing and a noble thing to kill every single Jew. By the way, just as a side point, I always find it strange that some Muslims seem to get caught up in this, there weren't really 6 million Jews killed. Or, I don't really understand that. 2 million, 6 million, what's the point? I mean, slaughtering human beings en masse is a terrible thing, whatever the number is, number one. Number two, what? You think Europeans aren't capable of slaughtering people en masse? Actually, they're very good at it. They have a nasty propensity in their history for doing it. It's the facts. And just to remind everyone that number 2 on Hitler's list of inferior races after the Jews was indeed the Arabs. Just to remind you of that. So anyway, imagine the Nazis took over the world and they persuaded everybody that it was a good idea to kill all Jews. Therefore, according to the atheist evolutionist concepts of good and evil, it therefore would become good. Which I am pretty sure that I certainly believe that it is evil. It always is evil. Irrespective of how many human beings may consider it to be good, it is evil to try and wipe out a race of human beings based upon some racial prejudice. But I believe that absolutely because I have an absolute standard of morality that is not defined by me or my family or my friends or my tribe or my nation or my civilization. It is defined for me as I believe by God. And if you don't have that transcendental meaning, it is something outside human events, then you have no real claim to claim that anything is really absolutely evil. It's only evil according to a particular circumstance. So the whole argument of the atheist anyway, of the problem of evil, is a duplicitous argument from their point of view. It's not honest from their own assessment of things. Yet they use it very effectively and very emotively. There are lots of issues surrounding the problem of evil, and there are many problems defining what is evil, even if you don't believe in God. What makes something evil? What makes it so bad? Is it willful intent? Does that make something evil because we willfully intend to do some harm to someone? Or is it something evil simply because of the end result? These are issues that people who don't believe in God are still trying to figure out and still trying to discuss. Does evil exist as a separate entity? Or is evil, in fact, merely the absence of good? That's an interesting question, because it presumes, therefore, that human beings are good. How about presuming the other way around, that human beings are evil and that good is just the absence of evil? I mean, you can think about this in many, many different ways. I remember reading in a book on philosophy a little statement that has stuck in my mind until today. And the writer said that, in his opinion, the philosophy of ethics is actually no more than a rationalization of our prejudices. The philosophy of ethics is really no more than a rationalization of our prejudices. And actually what is really scary is how easy it is to rationalize our prejudices. It's very easy to rationalize one's evil. I mean, we go back to our example of, Nazi Germany and Hitler exterminating Jews. And it wasn't just some random thing. Of course, he had a whole process of rationalization for that. What the Jews had done, how they, according to him, were sucking the nation dry, they were, and so on and so forth, and the harm that they caused, and, and he brung historical arguments, economic arguments. These are all rationalizations of his prejudice. And it's actually very easy, and I'm sure every single one of us, sadly, do this all the time. We rationalize our evil. We try and explain it away. We try and make it out as if the bad things that we are doing are really not so bad after all because of A, B, C, D, whatever. These are our rationalizations. Anyway, there are so many topics and so many issues that we could discuss around this problem of evil, and it's only supposed to be, I'm only giving you a taster, an introduction. But fundamentally, the reality is that the lecture today is really not about that particular subject, and I just really wanted to introduce these ideas. What I want to go back to is my premise. My premise is that there is a God, that this universe does have a creator. And therefore, to really deal with today's topic, why does God permit suffering on the earth? The reality is the only way that we could have certainty in respect to the answer to this question is if God tells us. That's the only way we could know. Because the reality is human reason has limitations, quite severe limitations. And I would just like to demonstrate the severe limitations of human reason. Can anyone tell me what is behind that door over there? Can anyone tell me? There's no one in this whole room that can tell me what is behind that door? How many hands up, university students, please? Hands up, university students. And I guess this is the medical school, so I don't know how many of you. If you're a medic, can you put your hand up as well? Keep your hand up. Yes,